Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast Seas Get Degrees. This week's episode, we have a guest all the way from Australia. Jake Pearson comes on and jumps on the podcast and explains to us why being the host of the Redesign Your Body podcast is the most amazing thing possible out there. So sit back and relax, guys. This show is going to be great. Also, I appreciate the recent downloads here from Spotify, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. And don't forget YouTube today. So if you guys take 2 seconds here, go to the ratings buttons. Let us know what we can work on here with the podcast. These degrees. Once again, thank you guys. Happy Friday. What's up, man?
Hey, Chad, how are you, man?
Going good. You got the oh man, you got the old studio there. I love the setup.
Cheers, bro. Yeah, I use it for my own show, so it's necessary to have. I started off having it with when I was a streamer, when I used to play a lot of games, and then I kind of just found the use for it for podcasting instead. And so yeah, like things get in the way, and we have to move a workout. We have to reschedule it. It's like when I busted my hand up, bro, with a sledgehammer and a picket. I was doing a fence, and I smashed it into 2 fingers, and I ripped out like lots of skin and stuff. And I can't box. I won't be able to box for probably 2 to 3 weeks. And I could be mad at myself because I'm missing those workouts, or I could just find something else to do during those times. So, I mean, I miss workout for like maybe 1 session. You're going to pick it up again in a couple
Tomorrow
of days.
morning. Yep.
Yeah. Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, and it's one of those that, for me, when it, especially on the mental health side of it, I think what it is when you find your why, and especially on your end of it, a lot of people, it's not a pressure of, I don't want to say the negative self-talk. It's like the pressure of like, oh my God, my world's unfolding. I can go down a whole route of everyone that throws excuses out of what you want to throw in the bucket. To me, it's a pressure of, I'm not helping enough people. And it sounds weird to say it this way because at times I'm not a people person, but it's one of those that I think the why is so driven in me that, especially now, now I don't know how it is done by you, but in my high school, I'm 34. So like, if you look at my last 2-3 years, I've watched like 3-4 people commit suicide. Not watched, but like been around people that committed suicide. Our town has a huge meth problem kicking in now. So like, and especially with like a family death related to like mental health. So it's like you look at 6-7 people on top of some deaths, and all of a sudden that light bulb goes off. It's like, dude, I do not want to be a statistic, and I'm not doing that. And my life is way more important than doing the 9 to 5 and sitting there and just being stagnant with it. And it's like, I don't want to be that person where it's like I never look back and said I didn't do shit in my life. So go ahead.
I can resonate with that. I don't want to look back and have any sort of regrets missing out on things that I could have done. For me, stepping in the ring and squaring off with a bunch of people as a boxer, if I don't do that now, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. You know, I don't want to be a statistic as well. That's the thing too. I will look at my life and say, if I disappeared now, who would remember me? What impact will I have left on people? And so I know I have a lot more to do. And it's not a matter of if, it's always when. And when I get to that stage and when I'm influencing that many people to make those positive changes. So I get exactly where you're coming from, where we've been through enough that we can say that we want to do more for other people.
Yeah, and it's almost like an inner drive motor. I don't want to say it's the best way of saying it. People are like, "How are you driven?" It's like, dude, I got my why. And everyone's like, well, what's your why? I'm like, and I have a friend that's going down this road, and this is perfect for mental health. We can just fly right into this, but um, she goes, well, I'm trying to please other people, and I'm waking up and I have a nasty day, and blah 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 blah. I mean, you could take the whole bucket and dump on, what comes out of her mouth, and I'm like, she goes, well, I had a friend that says, we can swear on here, but she goes, I have a friend that says, fuck other people's opinion, whatever it is, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, that's true, but I'm like, what are you running to? And she's like, what? I said, if you don't have any goals or why, what he says isn't really useful for you because you're not running towards nothing. I'm like, figure out what you want to run towards, write it down, and then completely focus on that. She's like, why? I'm like, because it's a reverse of what he said. I'm like, if you have everything lined out in your goals and dreams, you actually have the foundation to go forward and block out what everyone says because you're running towards that goal. And she's like, I never had anyone do that, sat me down, or vice versa, sat down and told me about that. I'm like, focus on the first thing first and then worry about the second one. So that's what I learned the last year in my mental health journey. That it completely, you get it in boxing. I was a sports kid in high school, so it's like I call it the zone, and it's tough to explain it. You get it. It's like a severe tunnel vision that you get, and you just get in there, you get out, you block everyone out, and you just rock and roll. And it's like I'm a huge Metallica fan, like metalhead. So it's like all of a sudden it's like you have a soundtrack in your mind going, and you just get so laser focused that you don't give a shit what's on the sides.
It's like you're almost a main character in a movie. You got the AC/DC starts playing in the background, and you just look awesome. When I used to play, I played soccer for a year, and I was that guy in high school. I maybe hang out with a nerdy group, but I was the athletic guy. I loved to sprint. Sprinting was my thing. I loved to run. I was lifting weights, and you just do get into that zone, and it's a really hard thing to describe. That tunnel vision is a good way of saying it. You're just so dialed in on everything that you're doing that you're just giving it like that 110%. You feel awesome. And that translates into, I guess, what you're saying, how you're blocking everybody else's stuff out. That's where I'm at with my own personal journey. Is I'm at a point now where I don't care a lot about what other people say about me. It doesn't affect me as much as it used to, because I used to be a kid with a lot of low self-esteem, zero confidence in my own person and what I want to achieve and what my strengths were. So I was too busy fumbling around. I've dealt with anxiety my whole life. So all this just played into this cycle of trying to be someone I wasn't. I tried to follow in the steps of my best friend, trying to emulate his personality because I didn't know what my personality was. And then when I changed, when I found my why for my own personal health, my body, when I wanted to improve my confidence, my low self-esteem, something just changed. And I went, wow, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to improve my health. I want to feel good when I look in the mirror and see something for myself. And when I started to change a few steps along the way, improving my health, and actually started to get some tangible results and confidence in my own skin, my self-esteem started to really improve. And then my body confidence started to really improve. But then my confidence in my job started to really show. But then I thought, how do I improve more? And so when I started to reach out to people, I realized I had this passion for helping people, not just with their fitness and their health physically. It turned into mentally. And I don't have a lot of conversations these days that are black and white about health and fitness. I love to talk about everything that's going on in someone's life. How's work? Like yesterday in Australia, it was Are You Okay Day, which is a mental health day, where we basically just asked the question, are you okay? And it's this huge campaign. And I'll ask someone, how are you looking after yourself mentally? How are you taking care of yourself? There are so many other aspects to one's health and fitness. And it all comes back down to what you were talking about before, your why. if you don't have a clear why for why you're doing things, it's almost like you're blundering around and you don't have a sense of direction. I'm sure a lot of people feel like that. It's all comes back to, what are you trying to achieve for yourself first? And then you can sort of build on that and build some momentum and run your own race. And I've gotten to that point where I can just sort of, if someone says something negative to me, or, they try to put me down, I know my own value. I know my own worth as a person. I completely understand that about myself. I'm at that point now where if someone will insult me for my looks or something that I'm doing in my career, cool, that's your opinion. I know you've got your own stuff going on. I respect that. It's okay, man. But I know my value. I don't need that. So I've changed that much now that I'm beat of my own drum, man.
And actually, I think you guys are, what are you guys, 12 hours ahead of us?
Yeah, so it's 12:48 a.m. right now.
Okay, so it is 9:48 a.m. here. So you're almost a freaking full day ahead of us.
Yeah. I actually went to sleep at about 5 hours ago, and then I woke up 45 minutes ago ish.
Pretty close to me, man. When did I see the clock this morning? 1:30, and then first alarm went off at 7:25, and then obviously it's been a little colder, a little grayer here lately, so it's your body's kind of saying, okay, dude, fall's coming. And I know we're kind of, yeah. I know. I think we're kind of opposite. I think you're rolling in the spring, right?
Yeah, we just hit it. We had like one of our warmest days today or yesterday, and it was amazing just to get out and soak up the sun. And because we've been freezing our ass off with sitting at home because of COVID-19 as well. And that, I love how we've been having this conversation, and that hasn't even come up at all. Like, even though it's just, it's taken a hold of society in every country.
I want to sit here and just laugh at that, and I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, next step. It's what it is, especially when we're looking at this, and actually I'm gonna use that as a positive. If that didn't occur, I would not be doing what I'm doing right now, and I wouldn't be so passionate for what I'm doing right now, and I would not be on online presence, and I would not be 100% committed to personal. I mean, I would still be personal development, but I would probably be more at a 90 than I would be at 100. So thank you for that occurring as much. And people aren't seeing on the other end. Me and him are just sitting here smiling with the biggest grin on our face. But
I feel the exact same way. I've been saying to people, COVID-19, as bad as it has been, as bad as all the income that I've lost and how it's affected our society, for me personally, it's stripped away a lot of my income, and it's made me realize that I'm not so worried about finance. It's given me more time to work on my business, work on the podcast that I have, and also get clarity about what I want to achieve in life, and who it is that I want to help, and what my values are, and who I am as a person. I'm so glad. Like, coming out of COVID, I'm laying some fantastic groundwork for huge things. I don't think I would have had this time to invest in what I'm doing, podcasting, speaking, linking up with you, if I had to get up at 5:30 a.m. to start at the gym tomorrow. Like, who knows? So I would think I was just in a cycle of showing up, but it's allowed me so much more time to have this clarity, just like you have. It's fantastic, isn't it?
yeah, it's my life. I'm gonna start from ground zero. How I want to explain this. People around me did not. I was kind of that high level ADHD kid where people are like, yeah, you said something, but you're not accomplishing it. Or it's like my family kind of turned into more of a results based family where it's, dude, you've been talking so much shit growing up that you're going to do this, or vice versa. So it's like, now when COVID-19 hit, I pretty much shut them all up, which is perfect, because I launched a podcast, and people are like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" How, the naysayers. It's like, "Oh, what are you doing? That looks kind of weird. Why are you doing that?" And then all of a sudden, now it's like I see the results coming in on Lipson, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" and all of a sudden now in the last and this is what, when did COVID hit? February, March, somewhere in there. So 6 months in, give or take. I I see the results and I'm perfectly happy now. It goes from I launched this super nervous to now it's like, okay, hey, this is awesome. I'm talking to all kinds of people that have the same issue, not issues, but the same needs, wants, and everything nationwide, actually worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm part of podcast groups, and all of a sudden people are kind of poking in. Something like you were saying, where people are like, "Hey, dude, why don't you start speaking?" I'm like, "Excuse me," and they're like, "Yeah, public speaking. Go help people. Go. Have you ever been a personal coach or personal trainer or coach or whatever?" And I'm like, first of all, and I kind of I'm so humble with this, dude. Like I was so cocky back in the day that I every time I would throw it in someone's face, life would come and just knock me on my ass. So now I'm kind of completely opposite, where it's like, okay, first of all, I'm very grateful for podcasting, and that can get taken away from me today, but I would be super mad about it. But I understand that there's so much value there that I'm enjoying it and I'm having a blast doing it. Secondly, I never thought in my mind I would be doing uh, public speaking, and I'm a person that is an extrovert, dude. I'm out there. I love talking to people, but a lot of these things, if the good Lord didn't bring them in, I would never knew I would have so much passion for it. So that's the gray cloud that's over and above what caused that. Everyone's kind of mad because the sports are taken away, but I'm kind of glad that cloud came because it kind of pushed all the BS away, that time consuming stuff that is not much. I don't want to say not much value. I love my sports, dude. I love seeing, I'm not a UFC fan, but I'm kind of like a hybrid. I love my baseball because in Wisconsin, we got the Milwaukee Brewers, but we got one of the top game announcers in the whole United States. You've seen the movie Major League, right?
Well, I can't remember. I know I watched a baseball movie recently. It was about a team that it had Tom Hanks in it, I think, when he was really young. Moneyball. Have you seen Moneyball? The
Oh
movie
yeah,
series?
okay, yes, that one. Go watch Major League. The announcer that they have for Major League, obviously he's acting, but this is how he was back in the day. That's
Yeah.
100% him to a T back in the day. But that same announcer is what we have. We have the opportunity to have here for our team. He's so funny, so good, so everything that he's more of like the ratings drawer versus the team. The team is very, very good, but I think he draws more people in just because of the aura of him speaking on the radio.
We have the same thing with we have AFL, Aussie Rules Football here, and we have like these two main commentators. One's called BT, Brian Taylor, and he just, whatever he comes out of his mouth is magic. I have this quote where it was the grand final, at the end of the season, two teams fight for the sort of the championship, and it was 2016, and I've rewatched the clip on YouTube so many times because he just brings this raw emotion and energy to that clip. A player bombs the ball like 60 meters on his boot through a set of goal posts, parallel posts, and he just can't help but start swearing on live TV, which isn't supposed to happen because of how amazing that moment was. And I was like, this energy, that I love that from sports commentators. There should be more of that.
I think what it is, and I'm going to answer it this way because I've had this conversation with a few people that obviously music's big in my family. We're not up the line, down the line, further down the tree. There was a big entertainer that was in Las Vegas that's part of our family. I never had the opportunity to see him or learn a lot about him because he was dead before I came into this world. But so like that entertainment, that music, it's like we all have an ear for it. And the thing that we were looking at, and my mom and my grandma and my uncle all discussed the same thing, that, and it's the same thing with commentators. I think what it is back in the day, they would hit the road, they would do so much shows, they would do so much commentating, they would do whatever it is to get that 10,000 hours in, to where now it's almost, they have a beautiful passion for it, and you can tell, but you can also tell that they hit the road and they learn their skill and their craft, and they it's a feel, like they know how to feel, they know how to relax, they know when to give the gusto, they know when to lay off the gas. Nowadays, I think we're not going to have that, because to a point, because those guys learn through the radio, learn through public television, whatever it is, they learn throughout the years without having auto edit, auto tune, all that stuff kicking in, especially now with the music, where it's like there's so much auto edit, auto tune, that these people didn't play live for 5, 6, 7, 10 years live first before their album came. And I think that lost art is what's going to be hurting people in the next 10, 20 years. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's some out there that are still doing it, but I think the ones that have the most gusto right now, or gas, like amazing speakers, is UFC for some odd reason, or even wrestling. Obviously wrestling, but the wrestling guys came from the roads back in the day. So I mean, I'm gonna leave them out of the. But there's very few, far between, passionate announcers, and that's obviously, it's going in our speaker, because passion, it's all tied to personal development. So.
Well, you could draw on that and say, we could just in 5 years, you might see a lot of passionate podcasters make the switch into sports announcers and stuff. Like, you could see people just coming from, that's their background, and that's where they put in their 10,000 hours. That'd be a better shift than, pulling less people from TV and stuff.
I think what's going to happen is, I think you're probably noticing too, I shut the TV. Well, okay, I moved into this apartment in July. I turned my TV on twice, and once was trading stuff online, where I just wanted to see if the HDMI cable worked, and I had it on for a little bit, turned it off. And then I actually vegged out last weekend. So last weekend was Labor Day weekend here, so it was a national holiday. I never vegged out. Like, I'm always on the go. I never can sit still enough to sit on the couch. But I actually sat and watched 2 movies back to back, Blues Brothers and Beavis and Butthead Do America, and just sat there and vegged out like a little 12-year-old, just sitting there chilling, watching TV. So TV's never on. But the thing that I think is going to happen in the future, especially us with people that are fully driven, is I think the industry is going to shift to podcasting, YouTube, all that stuff's going to be your new media going forward. And the old media, like your television shows, whatever it is, either A, they're going to get left in the dust and that's going to completely disappear, or B, they're going to do especially what Joe Rogan did, where Spotify's going to come start dropping big money for these exclusive podcasts that I don't want to say people are going to make bank. People put a lot of hard work in before they got that contract, but you're going to see media kind of intertwined into more of like this digital media.
Yeah, I can see Spotify and other big companies dropping a lot of money, though, to get people on their networks, and because that's where the attention is. And I was listening to another podcast which my friend launched, and he was talking to marketers. Have you ever heard of the ABC?
No.
It's just a huge Australian television brand. It's pretty much synonymous with Australian TV, and they're talking about focusing on where the attention is. And it's like the older Australians, the older demographic will watch television, and the younger demographic will watch, kids shows, etc. But that middle 18 to 25, they're struggling to capture that audience. And what's interesting about it is, sure, we watch a lot of like Netflix and all those different platforms. That's our way of consuming media, or podcasts, or YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, if you're on it. There's so many different ways to consume different content now. If those mainstream medias want to keep the attention, they need to follow the trends. Otherwise, they're just going to lose viewership over time, because at what age are people getting smartphones now? You see like really young kids walking around with iPhones, and all of a sudden all the attention's in their palm now, not on the television. So it's going to shift way further over time, that you probably see young kids as early as like 10 starting to be exposed to podcast learning very soon. So it's going to shift. It's going to shift, just like you said.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think, and I was joking with people in colleges that are at that transition, and I know we went completely off what we were going to talk about, but like colleges are at that, they're at that transition to where they're like, oh shit, people aren't coming to college anymore. And I'm just sitting there, and obviously, yeah, man, I dropped a lot of cash on college, and I'm still paying for it monthly, so I made a lot of mistakes on that. Of it though. Actually, I'm gonna use my niece for example. She just graduated high school, and she's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And my parents are like, well, not my parents, but like people around us are like, go to tech school, go do this, go do this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, so they almost got mad because she's not going to school. And in my head, I'm like, go get your 1 year, get your 2 year, get something just as a backup. And I'm all for that at least. And people are like, "Oh, what does she want to do with it?" And I looked at her. I'm like, "Okay, first of all, her uncle's a programmer at Google, so she's not dumb. She's very, very smart. She knows all that stuff. Secondly, like she could program her own viruses and stuff, so she's like super, super, super smart when it comes to that stuff. Secondly, I looked at him. I'm like, she can make more of a living off learning from YouTube with zero dime. What is it? Maybe $100 a month in internet costs versus going to college. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I looked at them straight on. I'm like, how many people I know that are making a living off YouTube and understanding the algorithms with it, or understanding that for every one person out of 1,000 views, you get $1 or whatever, the breakdown is now. And people are like, no. I'm like, yeah, focus on YouTube, focus on social media, because either A, it can be a very consistent income, or B, it can be a spike income, but you can still take that extra cash and put it to the side.
You can use it as a platform to build whatever you want.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like podcasting, you can do so much with podcasting. But I think for people coming out of high school, this is something I'm really passionate about. I've got 3 younger brothers that all dropped out in sort of their 10th year out of 12. And when I think about those kids, I think, well, they're all probably feeling directionless. They all think they're just trying to get to the end of school. And then there's all this pressure on them to go to university and get a real high-paying career, study for 5-6 years, have lots of debt. And a lot of people don't do that. I got out of school and I went, I want to be a pro gamer or a boxer. I don't want to go to university because I don't know what I want to do. And I didn't have that passion. I never had that drive to be an academic kid. I never felt like an academic kid. I felt dumb. Now that's not the case. I knew I just had other people's beliefs. Their words were, telling me that I was stupid, made me feel stupid. So I believed what they said. Now I believe that I could do whatever I wanted. It's all about having those useful beliefs. But young kids, especially, they struggle mentally because they feel like they have to be going somewhere. You know how many people in life, 30s, 40s, 50s, that still don't know what they want to do, or always question where they want to be. And you don't have to have that shit figured out at 18, 19, 20 years old. You could just go experience the fucking world. Go traveling, go do a bunch of odd jobs here and there, meet lots of different people, try lots of different things, find something that you love, and then dial in on it. You got plenty of time to do that. Experience life, and then you will find the things that you want to do. That's the easiest way to put it, man. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, and then I'm going to add my 2 cents into that. And obviously I'm 34, so I experienced my 20s a little differently. So and I'm not a shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm not like I completely eliminated out of my vocabulary, but I'm going to use that for example right now. So I went to a 2-year and I went to a 4-year. Obviously, I met my number one previously at college, and I lived through my 20s like a typical. And it could be like this down by you, but at least in the United States, where it's like you go to college, you meet your girlfriend, you get married, you get engaged. So I was learning through my 20s, trying to find a stable place where I can put my feet down, kind of get stabilized, do whatever, start a family. So, but obviously, you hit a lot of, I'm going to say 80% of the people I know, they hit 30 and they're a completely different person. So obviously, I had a divorce involved with that, and I don't need to go in depth with her. She capped herself off. So what it is people have different levels, and I always try to level up. Sometimes, obviously, the next level up, you drop a little bit, but in the long run, the levels keep getting higher and higher and higher. So like, you get ahead, all of a sudden you have to struggle a little bit to kind of set up your base, reset up your foundation. Okay, and then it sets you up for another. It's almost like a stock market. You go up and down, you go up and down. That's just how life is. She capped off where she wanted to be, which is perfectly fine. I became another stat to where it's like, okay, I hit 30 and I got divorced and whatever it is. So I looked at it as I completely lost my 20s. So like from 22 to 30-ish, 31, I was doing that life. So now I look at it as a complete restart. It's like, okay, I lost my 20s. So now I'm in the last almost 3 years, I looked at it as what can I do now to have the most extraordinary life that I possibly can have? Obviously, yes, I'm still working full time. That's not my goal. And I'm looking to travel more. I'm looking to get out more. I'm looking to be more mobile. My ultimate goal is to be Colorado or mountains, whatever it is. If it's Wyoming, if it's Canada, if it's up and down the whole Rocky Mountain range, whatever it is, be in the mountains for a couple months just to kind of, if anyone that has experienced mountains, they get the mountains. It's a whole different world and ultimate Zen. It's like your brain just completely goes into thinking mode. But I looked at it as I need to be mobile. I need to be online. I need to have that not transparent, but like a career. And I don't want to say a career. I just need to have something that's very, very fun, entertaining, exciting, and pays the bills. And I have a career that I can launch myself and actually be my true person. So that's the main reason why my podcast is called C's Good Degrees, because I was an Etsy student and I had that ordinary life where I kind of just floated and, did some things and kind of, oh, hey, look, my buddy bought a truck. Oh, hey, when am I buying a truck? Or, hey, my buddy bought all kinds of guitars. So it's like you're floating trying to find yourself. And then, but deep down, I was always that rebel to where it's like I knew there was something bigger in life and I could not settle at, I'm going to say $40,000 a year job. I know. So I watched a lot of, and nothing against my friends, but it's like I watch a lot of people come out of school, they get their first job, they buy a house, they buy a camper, they buy this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, God, that's so fucking boring. So for me, that's experiences actually kind of caused this lift off with the podcast because, like I said, I was that average student. And I kind of am like, okay, I know there's something there. And if you look at a lot of high performers, a lot of them are average students because they just get so sick of the bullshit of doing the normal stuff that they're not normal. So it's like you're putting a not normal person doing normal stuff, which we get super bored with.
I love that because you think you're a C average student. I reckon I was less than average, like a D's and E's. That's how I felt. And it's so true that a lot of those people who we deem successful and that we look up to, these entrepreneurs and larger than life people, they all talk about how school wasn't the focus for them and how many of them dropped out and just started focusing on learning real practical skills and getting life experience that has allowed them to catapult. And like, I want to build a house. That's one of my goals right now, just to build a house so that I can actually get that money and start using it to invest in other things. I'm already thinking what I'm going to do after I get the house. It's not like where a lot of people would go, okay, we get the house and then it's happily ever after. I'm like you, I want to be 1% better every single day. How can I get better? And I feel myself leveling up through this conversation because I get to learn from your experience as well. And that's how I treat every single interaction that I have in my life, whether it's someone that needs my help with their health, whether it's their mental health, whether it's their physical fitness in the gym, a client, whether it's someone online, whether it's a close friend of mine. My own dad struggles with mental health, and he was telling me how that if he didn't live with my younger brother, because my parents divorced or split up, and he was telling me that if he didn't live with my younger brother, that he wouldn't be around anymore. And so I thought, wow, what can I do to help him? And so I went out of my way to really use what I've learned in my life. And I'm half his age. I'm 23, turning 24. He is 50. And I managed to get him to say that he knows his own value and his own worth. And that's really hard for that older generation. And so I take pride in like that. If I can help my own father, who I thought was someone that I couldn't really have an impact on, then I can help as many people as I can. So one of my personal projects is helping my family members out as much as possible, improve the quality of their lives, because we know that if the people we help, it doesn't stop at them. Then who do they change? It's that domino effect, and it spreads. And so,
oh, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You go for it.
And I was going to say it this way, and I'm not even going to answer that on the selfish side of it, but in order to help someone, you have to help yourself first. And once you get yourself taken care of, you can be selfish all you want about it. I'm going to be kind of cocky, arrogant, whatever I need to do on this. And it's not even that. It's confidence out of it. You're sitting there chuckling because you know exactly where I'm going with this. If you don't take care of your foundation first, you can't help anyone trying to fix their foundation. And if there's times where I can be an asshole, and then there's times where it's like, I'm very, very nice, and I'm going to answer it this way. When we get to this level where we kind of get this nice little lovely ball going and we want to expand the balloon to whatever it is, we're so prideful and so protective of that balloon to make it bigger, make it good, make it great, make more people, and there's so many moving parts. We're so protective of kind of guarding that great project you got going in your hands that it's almost like we don't walk around cocky, we just walk around confident, but we're so protective of that we become almost, like I said, guarded to where you almost become an asshole because you guard it so much that you want this to grow. And you kind of, people look at it, they're like, oh dude, you got your stuff together. I'm like, dude, I don't have shit together. It's a ball that I created that I love and I prior and I want to feed it, I want to grow it. And I just call that drive. And yeah, it's tough to explain it to someone that's not in it, and you're in it, I'm in it, but you get it. It's like we have an imaginary wall up on certain things that we're so just, okay, I don't need this.
Yeah. You and I are in the same, like it's the same position, in same state of mind, and it's awesome to be able to have this. I think there needs to be more people like us. I thrive on these conversations. Like, just like how you say, people look at what you're building. I know I have my shit together more than some people, and I might not be arrogant. I might not be cocky. I find it, people might perceive it that way. I'm just confident because I just know that what I'm going to do and what I'm manifesting is going to happen with time. And if people don't want a part of that, if they want to tear that down, then I will just limit that exposure to that person, and I will just push them out of the way, because we don't need people trying to hold us back. If we can help them, yeah, sure. But it all comes back to why are we doing what we're doing, and having that clarity. And I think for your listeners in your audience, if they want to get to a point like us, if that sounds like something they want, and trust me, it's hard. It is not easy. We can recognize it. You got to go through a lot of shit. You got to suffer, man.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying not to laugh, man, because you said it to a T.
You gotta go through so much shit. I went through high levels of anxiety as a kid. I was an introvert. I couldn't speak in front of my peers in school. I had to swear, cuss, go fuck, handshaking and leave the room before I could get a word out. To someone now who can actually speak like this with confidence. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad that I have my mind. I don't care about my body. This is invaluable to me. And to get there, you first got to work on yourself. Coming right back to that before, that segue all the way back, you can't give 100% to other people if you're not, giving yourself 100% first. So you need to prioritize your own mental health and your own physical health, and they're directly connected. Your gut is linked to your mind. So if you're eating poorly and you have a terrible gut microbiome with all this terrible bacteria floating around and all this damage that's happened inside your gut, that's connected to your brain. And what happens is you're going to have a lot of cloudiness, sort of like that. That's what sort of like depression and anxiety is. It's like a cloud that you can't just shake over your head. You're going to have that and you're going to feel directionless. So if the easiest step, the easiest entry level, and you will agree on this, is you can work on whether it's your physical fitness or what you're putting into your body, and try to be 1% better over time. Don't try to go 0 to 100. Just how can you be a little bit better over time? It's realistic, it's sustainable, and you will start to see within a year, if you're just trying to be a little bit better each and every day, every week, you will start to see the person that you want to be coming to fruition. I don't know what your experience is with working on your physical health and how it's impacted your journey. But for me, it was hitting the gym first and building up my confidence and how I started to see muscle and strength after I did my back injury, I bulged a disc, and then starting to get compliments. It then just, okay, I wanted more. And then I just it snowballed into how can I improve my sleep? How can I improve my gut health? How can I manage my stress better? Becoming more self-aware, getting a bit more perspective in life, talking to lots of people, helping other people, meditation. There's so many different things, but what's your experience of working on your physical health?
Mine started pretty much back in, I'm gonna say Thanksgiving on my end, but it's November 25th-ish time frame. So I don't know how your calendars are set up, but it's about 6 weeks before the year over year is how mine started here.
Yeah.
So what it was obviously, yeah, with that, the divorce brought a train wreck that came with it, and there's a lot of drinking issues, a lot of mental issues, all that stuff that kind of came with it. And I'm gonna take the ownership on some of it because divorce is 50-50, but that was the tipping point of trying to change everything that occurred in my 20s. But what happened was, dude, I went and chased and buried my ass in alcohol. So it's like I was trying to heal myself over and over and over again, but the more I healed, the more I would take the Tito's bottle and just, do that. So it's to the point in October where I would be drinking, 3/8 to a half bottle a night of vodka, and not like the small, like the 1 liters, the 1.75s, like the big stuff. And wake back up, go to work, and no one knew I had that huge drinking problem. And there was weeks where I would, on a weekend, I would kill a bottle a day. That's just how it was and how my routine set up and all that stuff. So what was happening is I was getting hammered at a family gathering. Well, obviously there's a lot of events built up to that, but I ended up capping off a bottle and jumped in my car and drove home with a light bulb out and got very, 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 very close of having DUI, which would be underneath it. I didn't get pulled over for it, but it was to the point where my brain was like, I got to fix this light. I got to go to AutoZone, which is a local auto car thing. Fix the light, get it going, get it moving, get back on the road so I can go back to bars, which to me, that was my light bulb that went off. It's like, dude, if you keep going down this route, you're going to be fucking thrown to jail. And yeah, so I would kill a half bottle a night of vodka, but then on that same night, I ended up taking pictures of certain things that shouldn't be taken pictures of. And one of my family members that I'm very not protective with. I don't even want to use that term. Very good relationship with. She's a very good leader, and kind of directed me where I live right now. It's almost like I felt I left her down. So the next morning it's like, hey, cuz, get your shit together and blah blah blah. So she was almost further ahead in the journey. So I completely cleaned up. During that process, though, there's many signals. Obviously, I'm very faithful, but there's many signals for some odd reason, like scripture going up to that. It's like, dude, you gotta give one thing up to add more things in. You gotta give another thing up to add more things in. So it just kept building and building and building and building, and then all of a sudden, I quit drinking. Technically in October, but 30 days later, I went deer hunting and actually killed 2 deer in a week time frame. That never happened. So I took a little time to celebrate of that one. But that was the official date, is Thanksgiving. A month later, my grandpa died, and that was the one that brought alert to my mental health, because, yeah, he died of, we think, COVID-19, but we'll just say it was pneumonia. And but you look back, like the last 10 years, he was more than that. I'm thinking 20 years, he was battling depression. And when they're 80, 90 years old, they're not going to bring, I think he was 83, they're not going to bring out their depression issues. They're not open with it because they're used to just keeping it quiet, and they would bury themselves in alcohol. Well, he passed away, and then all of a sudden the light bulb even turned even further on, because my mom's the only daughter of 4 boys. So anything that is father, daughter, son transpired, or carrier, or whatever it is in the genetics, I'm the only one out of like 20 some people in the family, because I'm the only father, daughter, son in the family. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have to be the healthiest I possibly can be. So on top of that, I cleaned up, and then it's more of like a reflection, because I watched my grandma get held back on certain ideas because my grandpa would use his depression to kind of hold her down. And I saw myself in the previous marriage kind of following that same pattern. And then also of it, and my stepdad's getting better now, but he's healing himself now. He's a lot more happier, but I watched the same thing with my stepdad and my mother. So it's like I watched 3 different patterns of the same patterns of like depression kicking in and holding back the person that you're with, or significant other, girlfriend, whatever it is. So my mind's like, dude, I got to get this shit straight, because I am not going to repeat this pattern, and I'm not going to sit here and be, like I said, a statistic of this. So I completely sobered up. I'm 9 months. I think yesterday was 290 days. I do have some NA beer. So NA is 0.00. There's some microbreweries here that are doing 0, completely 0. I do miss my beer. Completely changed my normal routine. Work out in the morning to get myself going. I do intermediate fasting now. Obviously, I kick in at 10, but I'll grab something after I'm done with you here. But just completely change the diet. And my diets are more originated towards head fog. So I will have whatever I need to do to get rid of the head fog and completely do it right. So if it's like a chicken breast, it's very clean. If you look at my fridge, it's very clean. This week I don't have some greens in there, but I have some shakes to kind of offset it. But so a lot of my routine is based off head fog and working out. So it's like, if I know, like this morning I'm good, but if I know when I go into work and I have head fog, or even doing podcasts, I know something's messed up. So it's like I use my gut to tell me, okay, what do I need to tweak versus going forward? So it's a complete routine that it's tough to explain because it works for me, and you have your own little routine that works for you. But mental health is severely, severely, severely hard in my family. And the more I'm along in this journey, the more I'm finding out, especially from my grandma and from other things, that stories from the past that I never knew about started to creep up forward. And I'm one of the few in my family that actually take the opportunity to at least be open about it. And the one that kind of saved me, the cousin that threw me under the bus, she's very on top of it too. But yeah, it's long story short. If these events of what occurred in my life never occurred, I would never be doing what I'm doing right now.
That's what I was literally thinking this entire time. What you just said there is you had to go through all of that to get to where you were now. And if you had to do it again, would you?
Exactly. 100%.
I would go through it, all the hurt, all the heartache, all the pain, all those, the suicidal thoughts that I had, drinking alcohol on weeknights. Like I had a stint with alcohol where I would use it to help with my anxiety, especially in relationships, when I just couldn't communicate what I was feeling. Smack down a few beers and I'd feel great and go to sleep. But that wasn't helping me work on that condition and understand it and why I was doing that. And it took me so long to break that cycle. But there's something I want to normalize, and getting across to, I guess, your audience is really important. And anyone listening to the podcast, it's okay to talk about, it's okay to not be okay, firstly, but make it normal. We can all have this impact now for the future generations. And if we normalize talking about our mental health, so many more people are going to be happier and healthier, and they get to a place where they have a balloon that they want to protect and that drive that puts them to keep working hard. And that's the most valuable thing you can give them, the freedom to talk about how they're feeling. Because just being able to talk, say if you and I were best friends, and I think we're pretty good friends after having this long chat, it's, if I didn't have anyone and I could turn to you, I could lean on you for that support, and really, it would put me on the right path. You would say, try some exercise, try intermittent fasting. And that's the value. You just need to talk to one person and confide in either a professional or a close friend, or even an old guy at the park bench, someone. Just talk to someone and get it out there into the world. You don't have to carry that burden by yourself, because it is a burden. We all have our own baggage. Everybody's got their own shit. But if you can find one person to talk about, and you start to normalize talking about it, it doesn't have to be to a lot of people. It's going to change your life over time. And it's really important.
I love to joke around in my life just because I'm happy when it comes to that stuff, but I have humor involved with it. It's like, I'm gonna use the example you just talked about. It's like having a carry-on bag in your luggage bag. It's like, oh here's my past. What do you want to learn about? Dump that right on people. But yeah, especially, I have to go through that journey, and I'm past accepting it. Yeah, there's days, we're not, and I'm gonna answer it this way and go really deep in the mic here. We're not perfect. Every day we struggle with something. Every day we're success with something. It's just like you said, the 1% each better. You don't have to be perfect every day, dude. Just do one thing great, and it'll build up as the snowball in the long run. But it's starting to happen where people naturally are like coming in, and I'm just using my buddy for example. He's like, dude, I'm having this person's a bad influence, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I looked at him like, yeah, if you're not approaching this route, or I'm on a happy pill just to kind of accelerate it. It's, hey, we're all perfect. We all need that at times. But I'm like, dude, you got to get on them. He's like, well, what do you think of them? I said, first of all, it's a combination of a full routine. That's part of the program. It's not all the program. I'm like, secondly, your happiness is number one. It don't matter who's in your life, who, whatever. I'm like, you got to clean that shit up and make yourself happy. And then the rest of the stuff follows. And all of a sudden his brain starts clicking. He's like, yeah, this person's a bad influence. This person's a bad influence. And I'm like, do you first. And then you're going to attract what's best for you.
Yes. No, I agree. If you work on yourself, and that's the thing that I use myself as the example, the more and more I worked on myself, the more clarity and the more understanding I had of me, worked on my own mental health, worked out what my triggers were, and really worked on being in more actual control, feeling in control of my whole life, and focusing on what I could control and not at the outside factors. I attracted the right type of people into my life now, where anyone that sort of comes to me and isn't my cup of tea, will just get filtered out without even me trying, because they can't hang with me. And that's not arrogance. That's just, they can't hang with me because I'm going on my own path. I'm not stopping for nobody. If they're going to try and jump on this train, they need to be on, in some way, they need to have a similar pass, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you better strap down on the seatbelt because the train's moving fast.
It's going real fast.
Everyone was like, "Oh, you're gonna float. You're gonna go different. You're gonna go to Colorado in the winter? Fuck yeah, I'm going to Colorado in the winter. Why? Because it's free. Because I can." I just who doesn't want to go skiing in the mountains and watching? I'm single, watching the ski bunnies.
Mm.
That's just how it is. But no, it's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end it right here, man. And
No,
I am definitely gonna have you back, and vice versa. If you want to have me on yours or whatever you want, we can just do a nice video chat on this. I think what it is, nuggets that we provided, we can keep dragging this out, but I think it's going to keep circling exactly what we said 3-4 times. So perfect mental health, take care of yourself, whatever it is, and get a routine established around everything on that. I think it was perfect for what we did. And like I said, I'm definitely going to have you back on, or vice versa. I'll have you go on. I'll have myself go on your end of it. But we're gonna rock and roll, man. It's been an hour. It's been a pleasure.
good stuff, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem. Send me a message anytime, man.
All right, Chad, look after yourself.
Thank you.
See ya.
Goodbye.